This is the Wahoo Tickr X, a chest strap heart rate monitor that does a lot more than just give you accurate heart rate. But do you really need your heart rate monitor to tell you cadence, vertical oscillation, and ground contact time? It's time to put on the Wahoo Tickr X and take it for a run. .39 miles, 90 minutes, 15 seconds per mile, 136 beats per minute today, at least according to the Wahoo Tickr X, going for a nice and easy conversational pace with my running buddy. One of many days of testing with this new heart rate monitor. But before I give you my thoughts on how this chest strap heart rate monitor does, I do want to go over some disclosures. This is a heart rate monitor, and the watch that I used to test it with, the Wahoo Element Rival, are products that were sent to me by Wahoo for the purpose of review. However, they're not paying me to make this video or to use these devices, and they're not going to get a chance to preview any of my footage or my thoughts before you guys get a chance to see this video on YouTube. I'll also be talking about some other products, some reference and some comparison devices as well. I'll put in the description which ones of those I purchased and which ones of those were provided for the purpose of review. That'll all be in the description for further detail. Now, with that disclosure out of the way, let's talk about why you would want a chest heart rate monitor anyway. If you've got a running GPS watch, whether it's a Wahoo watch, a Polar, Apple Watch, whatever you're using, it's got an optical heart rate sensor on the back. So what do you need another heart rate monitor for? Well, if you're like me, and I don't know if it's my skin tone, my bone structure, whatever it is, I just can't get an accurate heart rate reading from an optical sensor on the wrist. No matter what I do, I can crank down the strap as tight as it'll go. I can reposition it. They always say like 2 fingers down from like your wrist bone, like whatever it is. It may last for a little while, but then eventually it'll move or something will happen, and then I just won't get an accurate reading. So pretty much every day I've got some sort of external heart rate monitor with me. And the reason that I want to make sure I have that accurate heart rate reading is if you're using heart rate as a measure of tracking your progress in your training, tracking how hard your body is working, maybe how much you are or aren't recovered after a long run and you're on the following day. Heart rate is a really great way to be able to check on that kind of information. And so that's something that has been an integral part of my training for a long time. So let's go over some of the specs for this Wahoo Tickr. It's a pretty lightweight heart rate monitor. This is where the battery and a lot of like the brains of the sensor are, but it's really part of a system because there's a strap that goes into it as well. And these straps buckle in, and this is how you would put it on. You would wrap it around yourself and buckle it in. And then there are sensors right here, and then you kind of have to moisten them before you put them on. So that way it conducts signals coming from your chest into the device, and then the device connects via Bluetooth and ANT+ in this device to your watch or your phone or whatever device that you want it to be able to talk to. This Wahoo Tickr X also has LED indicator lights that let you know what's going on with the status of the device. Is it connected? Is it looking for a Bluetooth connection? Is it getting a heart rate reading? There's also simultaneous Bluetooth connections that are allowed with this, which can be useful. Not necessarily so much if you're outside and running along the roads or if you're out in the trails, but if you're in an indoor situation, it's more specifically for a lot of cyclists that are out there, that's going to be something that could be a lot more useful for you as well. But for some of you that are spending a lot of time in Zwift on the treadmill for running, that's something that I think could be useful for you guys too. The Tickr X also has internal memory, so you can just take the heart rate strap and just go for a run and it'll start automatically recording. You could also kind of go with the middle ground too and just bring your phone with you. And that way, instead of having to get a watch, you could just run with your phone, which you may already be doing anyway. The Tickr X has an accelerometer in it, which allows it to give you a whole bunch of other different types of data like cadence, vertical oscillation, and ground contact time, which I think set it apart from other heart rate monitors that are just gonna have that sensor that are telling how many beats your heart is pumping out per minute. It's still a coin battery, which I think is unfortunate. I'm not a huge fan of the coin battery, but Wahoo is saying that you can get 500 hours on a single coin. For me, that if I'm wearing it every single day, that's gonna end up being about a month's worth of use, which is pretty standard in the field for these types of heart rate monitors and those types of batteries for me. So with all those specs and features, now let's talk about some of the data itself. First, let's talk about how well does it do as a heart rate monitor. As far as the fit goes, I do really like this strap. It's a little bit thick, but I like the sensor part of this. I feel like it's a soft rubber that's very comfortable, and it's also grippy, which I feel like helps it really kind of stay seated and stay in place even when you're getting really sweaty. It is a bit bulky. I feel like it's a pretty big heart rate monitor, although not crazy big. I purchased myself the original Wahoo Tickr, not a Tickr X, but the original Wahoo. And when I hold them in hand, I feel like maybe the original Wahoo Tickr is a little bit lighter, but it is a little bit bigger. So it just might feel like it's a little bit lighter. In either event, the sizes on both of them are pretty similar, and it does seem like a pretty big heart rate monitor. Although overall, you don't really notice it all that much. The only time that I do notice it a little bit in terms of the size is when I've also got a hydration pack on top, which in the summertime, I pretty regularly do, but no problems with chafing even despite the size. So it's a bit big, but overall, not a problem. Now let's take a look at some of the data. I'm just gonna go over it pretty quickly because it's a chest heart rate monitor and it does a really good job of being a chest heart rate monitor. So if all you're looking for is just getting heart rate, this is definitely going to be one that's pretty accurate. I compared it for 3 different runs against the Polar Verity Sense, which I've also felt is like a really accurate heart rate monitor. And for the most part, these 2 heart rate devices are pretty much exactly in lockstep. Both of them are doing a really good job. The most rigorous test was on Saturday when I had my long run with a workout. So I had a 16-mile run with some marathon effort miles and also some threshold effort miles. And even when I'm changing intensity, not super quickly, but I am changing intensity pretty substantially, the heart rate monitors are all picking it up about as fast as heart rate monitors can pick up changes in intensity. So very happy with the accuracy and how well the Tickr X can handle heart rate monitoring. But it can do a lot more than that. So now let's talk about some of these additional features. One of the things that I did with the Tickr X today was I got on a treadmill at the gym and you can calibrate it. And so there's either a 2-minute test or there's a 6-minute calibration test. And basically what you do is you run at 3 different speeds, like an easy pace, a medium pace, and a fast pace for a certain amount of time. And then after you do that, you tell it like how fast did the treadmill say that you were going. And that's how you calibrate it. And then from there, it can then use the accelerometer that's in it and your ground contact time and figure out how far are you going on a treadmill. So basically, no matter which treadmill you might be going on, a variety of treadmills, maybe you're traveling for work, you can still have kind of like a constant number in terms of what kind of work you're actually doing when you're hopping onto a treadmill. So I think that's a pretty interesting feature. The other thing that you could do with it is you can connect it to Zwift, and you can use it as a footpad and as your heart rate monitor for Zwift treadmill running. So you don't need to get a separate footpad if you're interested in Zwift running, because those are the 2 sensors that you need. Instead, you can use this one device to connect, I guess, like twice to your phone, and it can give heart rate data and it can give that footpad information to Zwift. So that way with just one sensor, you can start running around all over Watopia. So I did that today for about 10 minutes. It's the first time I did a Zwift run in a long time. And Zwift running is free, by the way. There's a membership that you'd have to sign up if you want to do Zwift cycling. But if you just want to get on there and run, you can do that. Some other last things to mention about the Tickr X. Now, I've been using this Tickr X by Wahoo with the Element Rival, which is also by Wahoo. And that's how I was able to see kind of all the data metrics that this heart rate monitor was able to give me. The one caveat though is, and maybe I just didn't quite figure this out correctly, but I couldn't really figure out a way to do it, is I also tried going for a run connecting the Tickr X with my Polar Vantage V2, and it worked just fine as a heart rate monitor there, but it didn't give me the vertical oscillation and the ground contact time. And I don't think that it was writing to those data fields either. So I'm not sure, maybe I just did something wrong in terms of configuration, but I think there is a little bit of like compatibility issues if you're looking for the full suite of metrics. My understanding is if you're working with most Garmin watches, you will be able to get all of those data metrics. The other thing that's like really unique about this is they've utilized, I think they're utilizing the accelerometer in here. So you can program a double tap to do something with this heart rate monitor. So one of the things that you could do is if you're running kind of like headless with no watch and no phone, and you're running with just the Wahoo Tickr heart rate monitor, you could set the double tap to either start and stop your activity. You can even set it to play, pause, or skip tracks if you're listening to music on your phone. I do think that you can only pick one of those functions, like play, pause, fast forward, rewind, volume up or volume down. I wish they would have gone like fully into it, kind of like with some of the earbuds where you can like program a single tap, a long tap, a triple tap, or whatever. It would have got a little bit confusing, but I think it would have been interesting if they like really went and developed that. I think for me, the best way to use it is to set laps. So who is a device like this for? One, I think at the price of $80, it's a very good price for heart rate monitors. I think anyone looking for a chest heart rate monitor, this is a pretty good option. You also have the regular Wahoo Tickr rather than Tickr X. You have the regular Tickr that you look at too if you're looking for just the heart rate monitoring functionality. There's a couple of features that that device doesn't have, and I think you could save a couple of bucks there. But the Tickr X, I feel like, is really fairly priced, but also provides a lot of interesting features. I think primarily like the treadmill feature and the ability to use it for Zwift running if you don't want to have a footpad, I think are also really interesting as well. I think if you already have a heart rate monitor, unless you really specifically want ground contact time and vertical oscillation and you really know what you're doing with those things, unless you really want those, I don't think you need to go out and get another chest heart rate monitor unless you were looking for one to upgrade to. Maybe the one you have is a little bit older and you've been looking for something different. Then I feel like this is a nice bump up, a nice upgrade from a previous heart rate monitor that might have only been giving you that chest heart rate information. If you have any questions about the Tickr X, feel free to put them in the comments down below. I'd love to talk to you guys down there. Or better yet, feel free to stop by the live stream that I do Monday through Friday right here on YouTube. I'd love to interact with you in the chat. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of the video. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, and I'll see you in the next one.
Oh, what's going on?